The cycle is repeating for Bitcoin as we get into today's major topic as to what to expect for the next sort of timing for this portion coming up, a Bitcoin cycle based off of last night's weekly closure. We'll also go over some short-term price action for Bitcoin because that's a completely different picture basically, and even some Mr. Buteral, some Mr. Ethereum going on there too. Anyways, other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's a nice little Monday morning here. It's nice and snowy outside, and as always, I'd like to once again humbly request that if you do find this content valuable or meaningful, or even if you hate it, please do consider liking and subscribing. It really does help out the channel. And even just saying that statement has actually propelled this channel in terms of subscribers and views, like more in this past few days since I started saying that than it has been in the past few months. Maybe also a result of price action. Anyways, let's get into it right here, right now, starting off with the main topic of the day, and that is timing of this next sort of portion of the cycle. So here we're looking at an analysis of volatility represented by the BBWP indicator. And what we're seeing here is that BBWP, representing volatility, aka the dispersion of returns, has come back down now officially for last night's weekly closure below the 50 percentile marker, whilst the moving average also has a negative slope. So when we've seen this in the past couple of years, going back to January of 2022, where there's first an explosion of volatility, or let me blow this up again. There's an explosion of volatility above 50 percentile, and then comes down after that below 50 percentile. That has been indicative of a greater range likely to form for quite some time. These results in the past couple of years here did precede consolidations that took 84 days twice, right, as you can see right here and right here. And then the most recent one was, of course, this summer, basically, in 2023, where Bitcoin traded in more or less a range for about 200 days. You could even say, kind of though, that there was two different segments. There was a short-term upside move here, but overall, it was a range-bound market. But if you were to take that as two different segments, it would actually kind of equate to about 90 days, which would be very much on par with what we saw back on over here. So, we're probably looking at somewhere between like 2.5 months to 4 months, if I had to guess, of sideways price action, most likely, as Bitcoin does find its current highs at $49,000. And now we're going to find out, where do the range lows come in. I do, just basically look at the information that we went over on Saturday. It was Saturday's video as very much relevant to that. And really, this video should be viewed in conjunction with that. Just another, puzzle piece, basically, as far as timing goes. But what event do we have coming up for Bitcoin in the next 2 to 4 months? Well, it's a halving. It's a halving, right? On April or May, somewhere around there, is when the expected date for the halving will be. And so February, March, April would be 3 months. 4 months would be May. 84 days, it's about 3 months. 200 days, that's more than that. But again, you might look at this two different segments right here. Either which way does fall within the guidelines of that. So Bitcoin likely done to the upside for a while. Now we get to play the game of where does the next likely higher low come in around. And again, Saturday's video is going to be much more relevant towards that. I won't go over that again in this video. But there is something very important to be aware of for today's particular closure, as we are going to see a 5-day time frame closure for Bitcoin happen later tonight. And if Bitcoin does see any sort of a closure below Saturday the 6th of January's low, which was 43,215 on the 5-day time frame, then we will see a nice bearish engulfing dildo right here on the highs, which would also precede very likely bearish divergence as well. Let's actually just double check on this. And indeed it would, between this point right here and this point right here. Let me just mark them off. Boom and boom, making lower highs on 5-day RSI while making slightly higher highs on price action. So that would be divergence, and that would imply that we do see likely price down below $40,000 over time. Not going to happen all in the same day or even in the same week, as we'll go over a little bit later or soon enough. In the very, very short term, picture is much more different, I do think. But yeah, as far as the long term goes, we're probably looking at, we're probably looking at a relatively boring time for Bitcoin. And realistically, this is, I would say, kind of to be expected, just because Bitcoin has been, pretty exciting for the past 3 months, since basically mid-October to just about a week ago when the highs were put in. That was an 84-day rally. there were some boring parts in between there, but it was significant. I do think that now we're going to see a period of price range compression, and things are going to be more or less boring. And does it really get boring when things go to the downside? I don't know. I tend to like that a little bit more, just personally, as far as trading goes. But in terms of this, we had our fun to the upside. Now it's time to go see what fun there is to the downside, and then create a bit of a range in between that. Also, on the more short term, however, Bitcoin, a lot more poised for a bounce here than not. As we can see here on the daily HPDR, we can see that Bitcoin is actually closing around the 78.6 level. I'm actually using fib numbers on this, and I'm actually finding that I'm having more success with that. So just something to kind of play around with if you do have access to the HPDR related tools. Putting in fib numbers here does seem to hold some weight. There does seem to be some there. Still more testing needs to be done, but yes. Anyways, more importantly, with Bitcoin closing below, these ranges right here on declining volatility or relatively low volatility, we do expect a bit of mean reversion, most likely. Maybe not all the way to the median. I mean, if you did get mean reversion to the median, then I'm going to be completely wrong about Bitcoin playing out some sideways and down over the next couple months. And you're just going to see this rally continue to emerge. And to be fair, there are two traders that I know personally that I have high amount of respect for, and they are actually bullish here. And fair enough. I don't have the same opinion just because my opinion is formulated by the statistics and whatnot. Just more likely that we see sideways and down as far as I can see there. But at the end of the day, it's, of course, anything can happen. In this particular scenario right here, I would be expecting of a bounce sometime this week, probably early this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Of course, Monday is a bit of a holiday here, or not here in the US because I don't live in the fucking US, but it is a holiday, so we probably don't see like too much exciting action. But maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, especially, that's when, if there is going to be a bounce, I would probably be expecting it to emerge. Tentatively speaking, anywhere around $45,000 completely fine. If Bitcoin were to reclaim even 46,500 on a daily closing basis, I would also look at that as an indication that Bitcoin is going to put in new highs on this rally before anything else. And again, that prior analysis of looking for sideways and downside price action will just be invalidated, and upside is the name of the game, and you're probably going to see well above $50,000 from there. But again, lower probability here. That's what this channel is all about. Just looking at probabilities, looking at statistics. It's not always going to be right, but it's going to be more right more often. It's going to be right more often. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, in this particular scenario right here, very likely a bounce short term first, especially as HPDRO directional volatility does get down to the lowest level that we've seen basically since August. and that would likely be the impetus for a nice little bounce, as well as, it's going to be difficult to kind of keep that sort of strength there, or strength to the downside that long. So again, probably subsides in the next couple of days as we do see a bounce. Tentatively speaking, like I said, anywhere around $45,000 is fair game. I think 44,500 is extremely likely. Maybe even as much as 45,500, but that's kind of where I'd be expecting a rejection if this one is going to, turn around, basically. Anyways, now that we've gotten through that, let's talk about Ethereum. I've gotten a lot of messages about Ethereum. A lot of people want to know analysis on Ethereum, or at least what I can look at on Ethereum. And to be honest, I was expecting to find something different than what I'm about to show you right now. But if we go throughout the history of Ethereum, there are two prior times where we've seen kind of similar to this, where it's been, the rally leading up into the halving, and Bitcoin's halving, that is, of course. And where did Ethereum top out in relationship to Bitcoin's top in those times? And well, we can see it right here. Let me get rid of this for right now. We can see these past couple times. There was June 2016 on the 13th, by the way, and then there was the 24th of June of 2019. You don't necessarily have to remember that because I'm going to show you it right here, but those two times were exactly where Bitcoin topped off at as well, in the pre-halving rally. So I do think that does kind of put a bit of a damper on Ethereum's likelihood to continue here to the upside. Personally speaking, I actually do think that it would continue, but it is interesting to see that the actual data would suggest otherwise. Even in the cycle highs as well, Ethereum did top off on the same week that Bitcoin did in November of 2021. Did it top off at the same time in the 2017 cycle? No, Ethereum topped a few weeks later, about 2 to 3 weeks later, it looks like. But going back to it over here, if I'm looking at Ethereum, what if present would be good enough for me to call kind of a similar top to Bitcoin and look for this one to trade sideways and down? I need to see this one come back down below about $2,400 on a daily closing basis. Until then, I actually still do think that upside is more likely here, just for one more try, maybe towards $3,000. Longer term, more or less going to follow Bitcoin, I suspect. As we just kind of wait around. Let's say, so what would essentially be indicative that Ethereum is going to bust through and we're going to see like some pretty hefty continuations of these rallies, not just towards 3,000, but probably like 3,500 or 3,400 for Ethereum. Well, that would be if Bitcoin does reclaim that critical 46,500-ish number on a daily closing base. If you see that, it's just fucking bullish. But until then, bounces are just that, bounces. And Ethereum, might have one more try to the upside, might have one or two more weeks to the upside. But as we have seen in the past, when Bitcoin's topped, so is Ethereum. 3 out of 4 of the times, both for the pre-halving cycle rallies and then also for cycle tops as well. So I did think that was rather interesting. I actually wasn't expecting to see that. For some reason, I had in my mind that Ethereum tops like a couple, few weeks after, but that's just not true for most of them. Anyways, we can also look at Ethereum Bitcoin as well. I think this is kind of an interesting chart just because, well, it did have a pretty phenomenal rally last week it was. If we go to the monthly, we can see that, yes, the monthly did hold this critical region right here at, 5.2 million Satoshis. Yeah, there was several wicks below. That's okay. Just haven't seen any closures below. So I am looking at this as more likely of putting in potentially a macro low here. We do see, or would we see? Actually, no, we do not see any sort of divergence. So fair enough. But here's the thing. This Ethereum Bitcoin chart right here is at the point of maximum, or it's almost at the point of maximum risk for BULAs. Why do I say that? Because if you are bearish on this chart, you expect a rejection exactly right here at 6.1 million Satoshis and right around the green 2-5 exponential moving average with hidden bearish divergence possible, which that is all there actually. There is hidden bearish divergence as these highs in January on the weekly RSI are higher than what we saw even back in middle of August when Ethereum Bitcoin pair was trading all the way over here, about 6.4 million Satoshis. So that is interesting, I'll say. But I do, for whatever reason, my mind's telling me no, but my heart's telling me yes. I do, for whatever reason, look at this one. It's probably more likely to move to the upside. I know it sounds fucking crazy, but I do think so. But here's my non-opinion, just the data. If you do see the weekly on Ethereum come back down and close, not just come back down, but close below 5 million Satoshis, okay, yeah, this is your next lower high in a series of lower highs, hidden bearish divergence, downtrend, and ready to retest the lows and probably break those lows. But until then, as long as Ethereum Bitcoin pair is above 5.7 million Satoshis on a weekly closing basis, it probably actually is putting in a macro low here, and will be validated, especially if it pops back up above 6.4 million Satoshis on a weekly closing basis. But for right now, weekly Joule, that is a full-on signal right there with DMI support in the background. Monthly, I think monthly is different, but in a bounty region nonetheless. And of course on the weekly, we also do see a couple drives of regular bullish divergence there coming off the low. So what does that align with? I mean, I guess you kind of have to do favor the upside. But just be aware that this is literally the area that would be expecting a rejection if this one is going to be bearish, validated with a closure below 5.7 million Satoshis, basically. Until then, okay, fair enough. Give it a little bit of time. And I do suspect that this week will be down for Ethereum, Bitcoin. Short term, a high being put in right here, very obviously, and it might even play all the way down to 5.7 million Satoshis. But I'd be looking for a bounce there first and foremost. Even if it does break down overall, we very likely do see a bounce there first and foremost. And then next week would be the breakdown week, most likely, if it's going to be happening. But for right now, retest somewhere around there, and then probably try again to the upside. And then we'll come back to this one probably next week and see where things are at. But for right now, again, just kind of putting all the puzzle pieces together, it does seem unlikely to me that Ethereum is going to continue much more here than Bitcoin, just based off of the history. So I think I'll leave things right there. Maybe we just quickly go over Bitcoin dominance as well, because I know I've been getting a lot of questions about this. Where's my damn Bitcoin dominance? It's going to be a rough time for Bitcoin dominance bulls. It's pretty clear and obvious rejection right there. I don't know how much this chart actually means, though. I mean, we've seen so many of these altcoins go moon mode and beyond, and I think you really have to be looking at individualistic altcoins, and this chart is more or less a cope for, should I say it? I won't say it, man. We don't need to make any more enemies on this channel. But yeah, I don't think it's that helpful to be looking at this chart. I think it's best if you want to trade altcoins, you look at those pairs yourself, altcoin versus Bitcoin, or whatever the fuck you want to measure it against, basically. Anyways, this video has already been long enough. I saw a great documentary, by the way, last night. It was called Bitcoin. It was about this project, this ICO in the 2017 bull market called Centra, which was some sort of like a shitcoin project that purported to allow you to have like a shitcoin debit card that you could spend your crypto on, basically. It was a cool idea and actually a really, really good idea, but it seemed like there was a lot of fraud going on there. But the reason why it was such an excellent documentary and so interesting is that at the end of the day, I won't spoil it too much for you, but actually, I won't say it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the ending it's a bit of a shock, actually, as to how things are really done, and how these litigations actually do go. So fair enough. Yeah. That's where I'll end it right now. As always, want to wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and we'll come back tomorrow. We'll see if that 5-day has indeed confirmed a bearish engulfing. If it has, that'd be the next major puzzle piece that Bitcoin is going to continue on with the sideways and down after a short-term time frame bounce, which might just be the last sort of major chance some bag holders get, I think. Anyways, yeah, take care, much love. See you hopefully tomorrow.